Hello and welcome back to Schooling Around. I'm Alexis Zor.
And I'm Danielle Smith. This week, we visited the Oxford Early Learning Center and spoke with Pat Mueller, program coordinator, as well as visited one of the classes for the 3-year-olds.
Some of you may have seen one of the very first episodes with me and Pat on the 3 and 4-year-olds' first day of school back in September. If you missed it, take a quick look at the snippet from episode 76. All right, you want to hold it a little bit? You can hold it with me.
Yeah.
So, how was your first day?
I was good.
It was good. What did you do all day?
I waited at school and I go outside and I eat breakfast.
Did you like school today?
Yes.
Why did you like school?
Yeah, I did.
Because you did. Okay, so what's your favorite thing to do in school?
Like do cards and do people.
So, Nicholas, how was your first day of school?
Good.
What'd you do today?
I eat breakfast and then I played a little bit. Then I go to bed. And then I was at home, and then my mother just put me in here.
Let's start with the first day students. What is their curriculum?
Actually, we're interesting in that way. All of our programs, whether they're infants and toddlers, whether they're school-age kids, or whether they're preschoolers, we use the high scope approach with all of these students. It's basically based on the idea that all people, and children especially, learn when they're actively engaged in their environment with well-trained teachers and small group sizes.
So when students first come through the doors at the Early Learning Center, what age are they typically, and then what age do they exit?
You know, I would say that the majority of our students start when they're young preschoolers. And then, but we do have infant and toddler programs. We're not a huge infant and toddler provider. By the time we're done with extended day and going all the way to 5th grade, we have a great number of students, 400 students. You want to tour the building?
Yes, please.
Oh my gosh, I love showing that. I'm so excited to show you the block area here in room 3 at
And I'm
OELC.
excited to hear it.
This is so perfect. This is the block area. The block area is really where a lot of that math and science kind of stuff takes place. You can see that there's items to build with and items to build around. It takes a lot of thinking on the part of a young child to figure out how you can make a garage big enough for that car. It seems really simple to us, but that's where the beginning of math and geometry begins. You'll notice that there's books, and these books help children to get ideas about how they might be able to build something and how to put things together. The other thing you might notice is lots and lots of texture. So you see some metal, and you see some fabric, and you see in fiber, and then you also see some wood. We want to and plastic. So we want to make sure that children are having a multitude of different materials to use because they sound different, feel different, have different weights. And when our teachers are supporting children during their exploration of these materials, they bring those things up. And this helps children to learn math.
And then if we move over to this bookshelf, what is the meaning behind these blocks?
It's the same kind of thing. Interestingly enough, these are called unit blocks. Two of these will equal one of these. 2 of these equal one of those. And 2 of those will equal one of those.
So this is math.
It's math. It's actually fractions. It's fractions in a way that children understand them. And what happens is when they have the underpinnings for understanding fractions when they're 3 and 4, even 2, they really can understand it when it gets to be 2nd grade.
Right, the harder stuff.
Because they've had the experience with actually putting fractions together.
That was just a few months ago on the kids' very first day of school, and they seemed to really enjoy it. So, of course, we had to go back to check on them and see what more they have learned since that last visit.
The kids were so excited to share with us what they were playing with and what they were learning, and I think we were equally as excited to be involved. So go ahead and take a look as we visit the OELC. Hello everyone, we are back at the Oxford Early Learning Center with Miss Pat Mueller, who has been with the facility for how long?
Well, off and on. I started back in the 80s.
Okay.
and then I'm a retread, so I came back in the 2000s.
All right. And then what is your role here? What do you oversee at the Learning Center?
I'm an education coordinator, so I oversee curriculum, teachers, that kind of thing, how teachers are teaching lessons, lesson plans, assessments, looking at how well children are doing.
And what is the age range between the students that attend here?
Well, we have everybody. We have the infants, and so they can start as early as 12 weeks, 12 weeks, and they go all the way up till they turn 13.
So you oversee everyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of students, but we're interesting in that all of our early childhood programs, or most of them, are here at OELC. Mm-hmm. Then we have preschools. We have one preschool in each elementary school, and then we also have extended day in each elementary school.
Wonderful. And what is the, on average, the student-to-teacher ratio?
For the infants and toddlers, there's one teacher to every 4 students. And then once you hit preschool, it's 1 to 8. And then once they get to be 4, it's 1 to 10.
Okay. So that way students are still guaranteed that, individual one-on-one connections as well.
Absolutely.
So no one falls through the cracks.
Well, and it's appropriate to their age. Mm-hmm. When they're a young toddler, they really very much need to know how to just take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. They're learning to walk. They're doing those kind of things. So teachers need to know how to support them through that. Mm-hmm. Once they're in preschool, now you need teachers who can listen to them and help them to solve social problems. And then once you get to the older grades, now they need something totally different than that.
So each class or step, it progresses with their cognitive development.
Absolutely.
Language skills and everything.
Right.
So that's wonderful that there's such a focus on that as well. But one I do want to touch on is the mission statement, because I was researching the website. So it's to create a world-class education today to shape tomorrow's leaders. So how is the Oxford Early Learning Center fulfilling that mission?
A couple of ways. First of all, we have a big focus on the domains of child development. So what you see social development, because to get along in a global society, you need to have the social skills to be able to do that. You need to solve problems. You need to remember to focus on the problem and not the person. We have to do some of those. And kids don't know that, so we help them to learn that. And also a sense of community. What is our community like? Well, how do you get along with other people in your community? Then you come into the cognitive development that we talked about. Things like learning math and counting and figuring out things and problem solving with materials. Real big focus on that. And then we also have that language development. How important is that? Because if you can't talk to others, it's very difficult for you to compete in a global society. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, that initiative, that emotional development, the ability to be interested in learning something new.
Mm-hmm. And I know we had the chance to go and visit Miss Cindy and Miss Jillian earlier today in the 3-year-old classroom, and we were able to experience that firsthand. I think it was during their free time, correct?
Yes.
Where students were broken off, either playing with blocks, dinosaurs, showing us their geckos. And I know there were a few instances where you came up to me where there was a few students playing with bears and lighting them up. And that teachers will pay attention to what the students are interested in.
Well, because it's called scaffolding, actually. And what that means is we know that if we design lessons around things that children are interested in, and that we hit them at the right developmental level. You saw the little girl who was lining them all up. Mm-hmm. She's definitely interested in forming lines, which is the beginning of patterns. Patterning is actually algebra. I know, kind of crazy when you think about a 3-year-old learning algebra, but that's basically, and what happens is that comes to her naturally. Mm-hmm. So it's our job to capitalize on that. Gotcha. Then you saw the other little guy who was sorting them all. Well, sorting is another scientific thought, because you have to decide if something is in one group or another group.
Yeah, and we saw problem solving too as well. With those magnetic blocks, they were a hit.
They were, don't they love those? Oh my word. And they had to figure out, and they did this as a group, which is pretty impressive to see 4 3-year-olds working together on anything. But basically what happened is they had to figure out how to make the structure work so that all the animals could fit. But it's crazy because the shark is way bigger than the little polar bear. So now what do you do?
Right, and I know we were talking a little bit off camera too, but it is so fascinating where I know looking back, I never realized that we're learning these skills like algebra and problem solving and communication and language, all with just everyday things that 3-year-olds would be doing, on an average day. So it's wonderful to capitalize on that.
And then what we're doing is we're building a foundation based on children's initiatives. Their initiatives are where they're going to actually do their best learning. You know that yourself. When you're interested in what you're learning, you learn more about it. You just do. It's just the nature of humans. It's just how we are. So if we know what those interests are, and now we can build on those to get you to start thinking about how you can use those same materials in a way that helps to develop your math and science and language skills. That's what makes you a good student when you get to elementary school.
And another thing I found interesting too is class pets, they're not a very unique thing. I see them in lots of classrooms. But what was unique is that it was a gecko. And what is the significance, or obviously besides having something to care for, but how does that help children developmentally to have that class pet?
Okay, there's a bunch of different things. First of all is you have to care for that, which means you need to take turns. You also need to know what that gecko needs to live. It needs heat, it needs water, it needs food, those kind of things. The other thing you see is habitat. You have to look at where does a gecko live compared to where does the fish live. That in itself is a pretty mind-blowing idea to a 3-year-old. That everything would need something different, and we have to figure out what that particular animal needs. Think about how interesting the animals were. I don't know if you saw that, but there was animals, there was a zoo escape. It was really quite a situation. But they're interested in animals, and because they're interested in animals, that makes that pet particularly to that classroom and that specific group of kids really meaningful.
I can't believe the students were able to touch and hold the gecko.
I know, and those kids were not scared at all when it came to holding the geckos.
No, and I found it really interesting that in the first episode that we did with Pat, the first classroom had a fish, and it was just, if you watch the entire segment all the way through, you'll see the teacher as she explains that for different kids, it's best to have different class pets. Like, for instance, the younger kids had a fish because it doesn't take that much to really care for a fish. You can't do too much with the fish, but with the gecko, obviously the students were touching and holding it and playing with it, but a little bit more goes into feeding it.
Yeah, there's so much to consider, and even for children as young as 3, when they're looking at geckos and comparing habitats for geckos as opposed to fish, there's so much to learn and understand and adapt to, that these geckos need some sort of different habitat as a fish does. So all of these things, aside from just caring for this pet, they're learning. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and as we come back, we'll jump back in with Miss Pat Mueller.
Do you love local sports? Whether it's Oxford High School or Parks and Rec, you can buy copies of each game. To purchase your copy, call us at 248-628-9658 or give us an email at manager@occtv.org or talk to us at the next game. Hopefully we'll see you there.
Canine Stray Rescue is Oxford's own local dog rescue. Each year they take in hundreds of dogs and bring them into suitable homes. A certified nonprofit organization, Canine Dog Rescue strives to give pound dogs a new leash on life. To donate, adopt, or even volunteer, call them at 248-628-0435 or go to their website, dogsaver.org, and click on the Canine Stray Rescue League link.
Parents are looking up early childhood education programs or classes for their young ones, and they stumble across Oxford Early Learning Center. What is that process like? If a parent wants to know more or wants to get their child enrolled, how do they do that?
Oh, I can answer that. I know the answer. Okay, perfect. What happens is all of our programs are listed on our website. So you go to oxfordschools.org, you go up to select a school, and then you go down to OELC, which is the first one, and then over to enrollment. And our website talks of all of our registrations come through our website. So basically what happens is that parents click on enrollment, little star in the middle of the page, and it talks about all the programs that we have. We have 18 classrooms. So of those 18 classrooms, what are they looking for? You go on and it says, oh, there's space, or nope, there's not space. If there is space, then you fill out a brief online information, like sheets, like pages. You know, it's like an emergency card and the kind of and the child's name and birth date, that kind of things, the days of the week you'd like to come, and then you register. And you do it all online. You print the packet, you bring it in, and then your child can start.
No.
I will say that our open enrollment starts, and this is really important for people to know. So I'm glad you asked me.
So listen up.
Listen up to this one. All of the students that are currently here have the first shot, so to speak, at getting into programs the following year. Open enrollment starts March 1st.
For that coming year.
For the upcoming year. So what that means is if you think you want summer camp and you're currently enrolled, it's or if you want fall programming, it's the first week of March. And I don't want to be incorrect on the date, but it's that first Monday in March. The community at large then has the opportunity the second week in March. Our enrollment is limited because one of the things we do to make sure that our quality is high is that we're not a 900 child center. We do have, our programs are quite small, and that's so that the teachers can do the best job they can at working with a smaller group of students.
So that was actually going to be my next question too, about enrollment. So a student that is already enrolled, say the 3-year-old program that we saw today, they automatically get moved up into the next year, or is it still enrollment but they get first dibs?
They have first dibs and they still have to re-enroll.
Okay.
Because there's no way for us to know if they want to continue. I mean, they might be doing something else next year. People move, all sorts of stuff happens.
Okay.
I don't know why anybody would move from Oxford, but it could happen, right?
Very true. But actually, to bounce back into that classroom, another thing that was interesting where I was able to visit with the table, and I know you were too, after cleanup time, what were the teachers instructing or leading the children in doing there?
There's one of the components, one of the most unique components of our curriculum, the high scope curriculum, is that there's a plan, do, review sequence. Plan, do, review helps students, and they do this, they start this in the older toddler room, where they make a plan of what materials they're going to use, how they're going to use it, what people they're going to play with. So it's basically goal setting. Then they have an opportunity to work on their own initiatives. During work times, teachers don't develop activities that children follow. Children develop their own activities and teachers follow. Very, very unique. And that's why children do so well in their future from having had that experience. 45 minutes to an hour a day, you wouldn't think that would mean so much, but it's huge. Then after that, the only thing that makes that a valuable experience, or not the only, but one of the most important things, is that they have a chance to reflect on what they just did. And that was recall, which what you saw. So I think at my table, I'm not even sure what you did at your table. At my table, we were drawing a picture of the zoo outbreak.
Us as well.
Okay, it was
Although a car did escape from the zoo as well.
Yes, and we had a toy that got out. And then the animals were after the Zoomy car.
Yeah, a lot happens during a zoo outbreak.
It did. And then the teachers will write down the words that children say. So that helps them to make the connection between what I say can be written. And that's the idea. That's the literacy idea. So there's lots of stuff going on during that 1 10-minute activity.
And I was talking with Miss Cindy as well, and she said that the recall, the activity itself changes, so not every day will be drawing a picture.
No, there could be, I would imagine that tomorrow they're going to use bears.
Oh.
Okay, they're going to do something where you either tell the bears or the bears tell each other.
Which was a very popular toy today.
But bears were big. And so were magnetiles. They were all about those. The dinosaurs, they love the dinosaurs. They got a little boisterous over there, but yes, they do love the dinosaurs. And also making structures. So they might look for other things that they could use to make structures. And then tell us about what they did.
Yeah, and they seemed very proud of it too. I know just the drawings that I was shown from the students, they were very proud of the work, and all of them were obviously unique in whether it be an animal or an object or what have you. They were proud of it too, and they were able to tell you exactly how they rescued those animals or that car.
From the animal.
Right. And so it is very interesting to see all of that playtime where you might not think, someone from the outside might just envision that these students are just killing time playing, but they recall exactly what they're doing and how it's done.
And that kind of reflection, there's lots of research that went into those decisions. And people and students who can reflect back on what worked or what didn't work are much more likely to develop the kinds of skills that make them successful in school. You know yourself, if you didn't study for a test, you had the test, and it didn't go well.
I didn't experience that or anything.
But just pretend it wasn't us.
Right,
it was the people in Alaska who did that. Yeah, we've heard that this could happen. And so what happens then is there has to be a point in time where you think about what happened and what you could have done differently and what you would do the same next time. That's the same with the planning to study. So now we know that we are going to reflect on what happened and then we're going to make a plan for the following day. It's pretty amazing. When you think about it, and we're doing this with 2 and 3-year-olds, and all the way up, we use the same approach in our extended day programs as well.
When you see these students, like you said, 3, 4, toddler stages, the whole spectrum, and how eloquently they speak at this age.
I know.
And communicate or share and get along with one another. I mean, it's really setting them up for a solid foundation when they enter into, elementary and primary school. Which leads me to my last question here. What do you think makes the Oxford Early Learning Center so special or so unique from other centers or preschools or early development programs throughout the area?
Oh, well, I have 3 things popped into my mind. First is curriculum. We use the highest quality curriculum possible, and that's the high scope approach. That's my opinion, but I've been in the field for 35 years, and I see the students that have been through that curriculum tend to do the best later on in life. That's important to me. That's a big deal. I think that's a big deal. The second thing is that we work together. So we have what's called looping. So teachers and children stay together for 2-year segments. That's because teachers have relationships with those students. So if you know that Cora really loves the gecko, and she loves to take care of things, and she talks about the house it lived in and what else it needed, when you know that about her, think about how much further she can start researching what other animals need next year when she's still with those same teachers. It just gets bigger and bigger. And so the sky's the limit, so to speak, in their thinking. And then the other thing, I think, is that we're not massive. I really do. I think that makes us very unique. Sometimes you hit your sweet spot. It's like this is the number of students we can have and still provide the highest quality program. And while lots of times we would like to open it up and be bigger, we know that small group sizes and well-trained teachers are really some of the biggest indicators of high-quality programs. And we know that, so we're responding to that research.
Well,
and we're part of Oxford Schools. Who wouldn't want that?
Very true.
No,
very true.
Seriously, I'm about that. Okay.
But I mean, obviously, it looks like that all of these components are working and doing what they're supposed to because, the Learning Center has been around for so long.
I know. We had to, when you asked me about it, I had to really think about it.
Well, keep doing what you're doing.
Okay,
and
we sure
these
will.
Students, just from our brief time here, seem to be thriving and loving their
You
teachers
can come
and
back
what they're
here
doing.
anytime. I love having visitors. Look at how much they love just looking at the camera.
You might have some future videographers in your classrooms.
I'm serious. They were all about that. It makes me think, well, what can we do to make sure that kids have the chance to do that?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sitting down with me, Miss Pat.
You are so welcome.
I would
It's a
love
pleasure
to
to
come
meet you.
back. I'm sure you'll see us again soon.
Okay, good.
Exploring some other aspect of the Oxford Early Learning Center.
Another age group, perhaps.
There you go. Stay tuned.
All
So
right.
thanks for joining us, and I'll send it back to the desk.
I love how all of the students were really interested in the camera and the mic and just what we were doing there in general.
They were, and they definitely weren't camera shy either. No. I know there was a particular student that might be a future videographer.
Yes, she literally, from the moment we walked in the door, she was on us. She wanted to know what kind of camera it was, what it did, what the buttons did, and it was really nice because, I mean, I'm sure you can tell in some parts of the segment that the students were working the camera, which I think is really cool. They knew how to slow it down, or they were trying to, and pushing the record button on and off. It was really great.
And it's wonderful that these teachers really hone into the interests of these students and turn those interests into learning opportunities.
And speaking of one of those learning opportunities, was it the Gecko, or it was their blocks, their little bear blocks that you saw them play with inside the segment is actually algebra and geometry, and it's a bunch of other subjects that you wouldn't normally think of 3-year-olds being able to do and comprehend that they were doing that day.
Yeah, everyday toys they're playing with, whether it be those magnetic blocks or the little bears that Alexis was just talking about. They're not just playing, they're learning, and these are versions of fractions, algebra, even when they were building the little magnetic house to fit the animals, and they were built using references of the Leaning Tower of Pisa and the Eiffel Tower to build their little towers off of. So it's really remarkable how much these 3-year-olds can absorb at such a young age.
And these are, like you were saying, these are big subjects. I mean, I didn't take algebra till I was in, 9th grade? So to see a 3-year-old, how old are you in the 9th grade? Like 14? Yeah, so to see a 3-year-old doing things that 14-year-old students do in, I guess, maybe a traditional setting is outrageous. It's really great.
Definitely, and I think we will definitely take up Miss Pat's offer to go back to the OELC because, as you can tell, there's so much that goes into these programs that makes them successful.
Absolutely. Now it's time for our weekly recap. Last week, OMS had their Scholastic Book Fair and their Spirit Week for the canned food drive. And Friday, all high school students wore blue on that Spirit Day for diabetes. The symbol of the blue circle is to represent and bring awareness to the cause and to give a common identity.
The middle school also had their perfect attendance celebration, and the yearbook newspaper classes traveled together to the Fall MIPA conference in Lansing.
And finally, is something going on at your school that you think we should know about?
If so, let us know. Take a photo or quick video from the event and post it to our Facebook page, telling us about the event for your chance to be featured on our next episode.
And that does it for this week's episode of Scrolling Around. I'm Alexis Orr.
And I'm Danielle Smith. We'll see you next time.